Sushacha me Sudinancha me. My heartfelt appreciation to the galaxy of distinguished audience present here, and of course the luminary chair for this session, Shri Ramgopal garu. We have been talking about the material sciences and the importance of material science in self-reliant India, and also the processes that are involved. Dr. Satish Reddy garu has given the emphasis on these aspects. We have been drawing inspiration from several ancillary scriptures to develop various materials that might be required or that are readily required in this country. On the contrary, I want the technology community to take note of the requirements of the society in the sphere of dharma and how this is relevant. So this is from the other angle and perspective I'm talking about. And we start with our salutation to our Sadguru Shri Ganapathi Sachidananda Swamiji. Dattatreya Samarambham Nrisimhadika Madhyamam Sachidananda Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. He continues to use the latest and most modern technologies to disseminate the essence of dharma in very simple terms. That is the reason we admire him for the initiative. The next aspect is the intentional deployment of technologies. I will just narrate one line from Vedavyasa, who is one of the most important figures in the entire country, because due to his incidents only we have all the clans, the Kaurava, Pandava clans, everything. The Vedavyasa's regime, his genesis, and the genesis of all the Kauravas and Pandavas are also a matter for further exploration in terms of stem cell development. Now, what Vedavyasa has said is very relevant for everyone to understand, because we have the AI on one side, stem cell technology on the other side, and most of the scientific establishment are actually funded by many people who have their interests vested elsewhere. So in light of this, what should be right and what should be wrong? Tapona kalkaha, adhyajananna kalkaha, swabhaviko veda vidhirna kalkaha, prasahya vittapaharananna kalkaha, tanyeva bhavopahatani kalkaha. Kalkaha means fault, a sin. He starts with that doing penance is not a sin. Who said that? Adhyajananna kalkaha, serious studies are also not a sin. And the generous study of Swadhyaya, studying Vedas, is also not a sin. Prasahya vittapaharananna kalkaha. Vittaharananna kalkaha. We are fine with all the positive aspects, but he also says that just usurp someone's properties or someone's assets, that is also not a sin. Then what are you going to make out? What is your point? Tanyeva bhavopahatani kalkaha. Now let us take an instance for all of these things. Tapaha means penance. What happened to the tapas? What was the outcome of the rigorous penance performed by Ravana? We know the ill effects of that penance. And Adhyajanam, the serious studies that were undertaken by Ashwathama, what was the end result? He has hurled all sorts of weapons at the normal citizens, which caused destruction or would have caused a lot of destruction. And the second one is Veda Vidhi, Swabhaviko Veda Vidhi. The regular Vedic studies are also not sin. When would they become a sin? If your intentions are not clear, if they are not pure. Prasahya vittapaha vittaharanam, just usurping someone's duties, someone's assets. That is also not a sin, he said. What does that mean? What is the enforcement directorate doing in this country and today? They are attaching many properties. The courts are also ordering the seizure of many assets. If that is sin, the courts and the government is also doing the same sin. Therefore, the intentions are very important. Tanyeva bhavopahatani kalkaha. Therefore, before deploying a technology and after discovering something, we should always have this framework, the intention. Having said this, the morality and ethics, which should be the bedrock of all our lifestyles, it's very vital to scrutinize the possibility of application of various technologies to usher an era of assisted learning and understanding the purport of dharma from various perspectives. What is your dharma is different from others. I will just give you another very interesting analogy. In our childhood, we were prevented from looking at the killing of insects, the lizards, or some of the creatures. They consume other insects. They said, no, don't look at it. Look at them. We were just little curious about why are we being prevented. Because that is their jati dharma. That is natural to them to consume others. But by looking at someone's negative traits or their positive traits, whatever they are, if they are not relevant to you, you will also develop the sense of some cruelty. Now just you analyze the crime records which are happening, and most of the fugitives who were mass murderers, and even in the, you can see the shootouts in various countries that are happening. If you just look at the traits, from Tom and Jerry, if you start with it, and if you just expand the reach, you will see the sense of violence being inculcated in very small toddlers. You say the harder you punch, you will get. And the number of torture scenes in your today's movies and amputating each of these limbs, they are all graphic violence. They are all becoming part of the technology which is actually being some sort of spoiler or a slow poison to the society. Therefore, the deployment of the technology should have some sort of oversight from the perspective of dharma. That is the point I would like to manage. So therefore, we have to also consider the pros and cons while we evaluate the upsides and downsides of this mammoth elephant in the drawing room, that is the technology without which we can't survive. Having said this, the technology can be deployed in several productive areas of our society. In this presentation, I would draw your attention to a few things which you are already experiencing. Many of us are experiencing it. The learning and teaching of our scriptures and several of the stotras, the Sanskrit, the languages. Here, the Upadesha model is being totally ignored. Why is the Upadesha was so important? Esha Adesha, Esha Upadesha. If it is just recorded message, we could have asked all of these esteemed scholars to send their presentations. Why do we require all of them to get together? Why do we need them to assemble? Why do we need a physical interaction? Because the neurons that are generated here, they have some immense and intrinsic value. And the Upadesha has its own effect. Though the sound is being produced in the speakers, that easily that can't be replicated to what is produced by a human who is doing the same thing. So we had come across some of the experiments which are given by the biomedical department, And if I remember, it was Rama Jagasundar, I think. She had conducted the same experiment of playing the recorded sound of Gayatri Mantra and the live play and the time and the way it is produced and it is actually recited. So there is a difference. Therefore, the actual Upadesha cannot be replaced by long range, long distance teaching of Veda mantras. That is the reason that should be dissuaded. But of course, the explanatory parts where the sound has very little value other than conveying your feelings, there we don't have any objection. So therefore, the time-tested learning management system can be deployed to some extent and disposed in other sections. Wherever the mantra upadesha is concerned and mantra ucharana is concerned, it is always better to have the direct delivery. Okay. The next one is even more interesting for a religious crowd or academic crowd. The cross references are very important. If I just take the first line, Jagato Jagato Ramo Dharma Marmagya Samrat, Jagato Jagato Kausalya Asuto Veda Vartma. It's very easy. And it's easy to understand also. But if you are little more indulgent, then you would want to know how to separate these words. Now we have the JavaScript and several technologies. If you just hover over that particular text, you should get the Pada Vibhaga, how to separate them. Because Samskrita language word separation is not that easy. You need to be trained for that. And Anvaya Krama, the Chandas, the poem and prose, they are totally different. In the prose, you can place the words as you like, but in poem, the chandas has to be maintained. Therefore, the Anvaya Krama would play a lot of great role in understanding the sentence. Then we have the compound words which are called as samasas. They are also important. And Visheshartha, the special meanings that can be interpretation value. So we can provide these facilities for many of the shlokas and that would endear. And IIT Kanpur has actually done a very good job about Bhagavad Gita and some of the Ramayana works. That can be expanded taking the model from it. And I will talk about the commercial aspect of the commercial value of the same enterprise at a later point of time. So this is the second one, the cross references about this thing. The third one is Anuvada. Most of the technology companies that are extending their services, be it Meta, that is Facebook, or Google, Alphabet, Apple, they have already started monumental work in the Anuvada model. But you know how miserably they fail in giving a simple sentence and their purport in other languages. We get all mismatching results. So therefore, the multilingual translation, it has to be enabled. It has to be enabled by the model of construction itself. So this, though it is not the main topic, I would like to highlight one aspect of what I mean by vocabulary construction. In Samskrita, we have got the stem root verb, which is called as the dhatu. Shakatayana Acharya says, Sarvam dhatu jamaha shakatasya tokaha. The entire construct of the language of Samskrita is based on the root verbs. So therefore, you take 1980 dhatu and then we start attaching the Krit Pratyaja model for this. The Krit Pratyajas will produce the first set of root words, which we call as Pratipadika. That is the base word. Then what happened? If you just add one suffix of Krit Pratyaja, we have got 2000 words which are readily available. And the prefixes are the beauty of the language once again. Praviparapa samanvavadirnisau durati dushprati sodadhi paryapi tadanuchangabhini upavimshatihi trisahitet dvisahitet kyupasarga samashriga. There are 22 prefixes. If you add each of these prefixes, we'll have 22 into 2000. So that is where we're crossing already 42,000. Why are these prefixes are important? in all the Indian languages, I will just give you one example of this thing. Prahara, what does it mean? Hit. Samhara is to kill. Vihara is to just take a joyride. Upahara is gift. Ahara, food. Abhyavahara, complete food. Upahara, light food. So similarly, we have got the constructs. So this is almost approximately 42,000 you have, and again you have got the Krutpratyajas which are at least 120. So that would already run into lakhs. And then we have got the Subanta scheme, that is the words generation. So then similarly, if you just add the construct model, take the meaning aspect into account, then you have the perfect translation in several Indian languages extending to more than 6.5 crores. So these many words can be utilized. So what is required for the LLM can be generated by the Sanskrit construct once you have the purport of the entire thing. So you are having the entire vocabulary at your on your fingertips so that you can further develop. And this is the Pada Shastra that I am talking about. The second one would be the Vakya Shastra. Getting the meaning of the word is not important and not sufficient actually. Once you put it in the right perspective, then only you know what exactly is meant by that. For example, in the English language, we have got one word called set, S-E-T, set. And the linguists say that it has 127 derivative meanings. One word set, in tennis it means something, in hotel it means something, and in technology it means something. So they have got derivative meanings. So we have to put them into right perspective. So that is the second one, Vakya Shastra. The third one is Pramana Shastra, which we call as Tarka Shastra. So the way you analyze each of these words with the help of various constraints and conditions, that is dealt by the Pramana Shastra. So therefore, the LLM model and artificial intelligence can be perfectly leveraged to understand. So therefore, the Anuvada would be complete. I will just give you the contextual interpretation for one example. Yeah. What you see, it's a horn. What you see is a flame. Shrunga means a horn in the context of cattle. But when you talk about Chatvari Shrunga Trayo Askapadaha, there the context is actually the flame. But when you take the Vishesha Artha, here the Chatvari Shrunga is nothing but Shrunga also stands for Veda. So when our Bala Sudhakara Sastry was talking about how to interpret the Veda, it is very simple to say this, but once Ramgopal Rao wants to introduce a course on this, it has to be codified. How do you do this? Do you do this by intuition or do you do this by trial and error method? How exactly are you going to derive on this particular topic? And Mantra Shastra says the same thing about something. And Agni, the way the word is generated, there are 12 types of derivative meanings which are given in the Nirukta Shastra. So which one are you going to take? And how are they applicable to the current context? So that contextual interpretation and references, this is where we are going to make much of the progress with the deployment of the right technology and right designation. And next one is the commercial potential of these Swadharma services. They are immense and it runs into billions of dollars because we always talk about the Christian donations that are flowing into this country. But actually we don't realize the power of the economy which is based on the Dharmik section, the religious activities of, because most of them have some sort of religious association or some Dharmik roots. So if we just leverage on these things, it would always be profitable because we are in the startup country right now and there will be multiple options available. And there is very little competition. That's the key point here. So how do we start? If you need a simple service, you don't know who is an authentic person, who is an authorized, perfectly trained person. You don't know whom to ask, whom to call. So that's one thing. So the list of authorized, qualified persons, so providing the directory is the first stage. So we can say that if you want to run a temple, you say that, okay, Archaka, one who does the puja, Pachaka, who actually prepares the food. And the third one is managers who will manage those enterprises, and the staff, the teachers for your schools, especially the Veda Pathashalas, Archaka training programs, and the caretakers. These are all some of the important aspects. And the next one is, if you need many articles in the society and in the metros especially, it's very difficult to get all the materials that are required for that particular event. So therefore, the supplies of these materials as a kit, that would be a wonderful, some sort of, say, Amazon kit or something. The e-commerce potential is definitely there, whereby even the practitioners would also get. And the second one is the ERP solutions that are required for various organizations to thrive. How many are available? We have got just one or two, which are also not fully meeting the requirements. So this is something we can have the how to found an institution, how to found a temple, how to found an organization, and how to construct a building, and what are the running operations, what are the assets that are maintained, and how are the accumulations happening, and how do we manage the staff. So this is one aspect. The next one would be the CRM. That's even more important. You have got several devotees who are being the contributors, the founding members. They are hardly acknowledged by these services. So the continuous engagement, that is a business proposition that can be extended to this area as well. The next one is knowledge spread. So the video technology that we have, that can live translate or transcribe the texts. If you have the beautiful talks on various aspects, especially regarding the dharma, we don't have an effective technology to provide the transcription services. So the Kacha version, the abstract version is provided by YouTube, but that does not cover everything. So there some innovation can be definitely made. The next one is the webinars. We have got the TV channels leading most of the efforts in conducting several debates. Arshadhatu or some other SRIVT, okay, we have analyzed these products and they conform to the standards given by the Shastras and they are safe. All humans can use them for topical use or something. So such sort of certification would be very much required, and the certifications for the service providers is also very much required, so that we have a minimum standard. And the next one is the application of AI for simply three things. If you have a question, okay, we can answer these questions by getting the networked institutions and various scholars who are catering to that particular question. We can have the information which is summed up on a particular page. And if you need any service, okay, we can provide that. And if you need any material or kit for any of these events, that can be provided. So that the technology groups and the scientific research groups can put their thoughts together and give something which is relevant to the society in the Dharmik sphere. And I urge all of you to think broad, think big, and think biz, but make it affordable for everyone. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ganapathi Garu, for your valuable speech. I would like to request our session chair, Ramgopal Rao Garu, to felicitate Ganapathi Garu.